Hi there, I'm Scott,
And I'm Bonnie.
and welcome to Losing for Life, our channel where we talk about recreating our relationship with food, losing weight, and extending our healthy lifespan. And the great news is this week that Bonnie's back. So let's get into it. We finished this week our week 4 of whole food plant-based eating, and we're doing well. One of the things that I remembered this week was Dr. Fuhrman talking about how we don't always need to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. We don't need to be tied into that rigor. That actually we're sort of a continually fed society, which never gives our body a chance to really relax the digestive process. So one of the things he talks about is when you feel hunger, it's not going to be the rumbling in the stomach that we typically experience. It's going to be higher up in the upper chest and in the throat that we'll feel this really strong desire to eat. So I started to do more of that in the last week and a half. I actually started it last week, but this week it really took hold a little more. And I was waiting until, lunchtime to actually break my fast. So that was my breakfast. And I didn't really miss it. It reminded me actually of when we were on the mono diet, and I went for actually fairly long stretches without eating during the day in that process, and it felt fine. I wasn't really compelled to eat. I didn't have actually the rumbling most of the time, and I would drink water anyway. So I'm consuming something, but it's just non-caloric. So I think that has been a really helpful thing for me this week, and I think it showed in my weight loss, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, and I think we're a little different in that way because I'm not as comfortable going that long without eating.
Right.
Unless I'm really engaged in something and not able to step away. But it's impressive to see, but it has had me think about when I've had urges to eat, like am I really hungry or not? And sometimes I realize no, actually I'm not. It's just more habit. So I have scaled back a little bit on that.
Yeah. Okay, and the other thing I've been thinking about this week is we've been trying, these various recipes and trying to see what fits in with our tastes and stuff. I've gone back to remembering that the focus of the meal is always on the salad. That is always the main course, and that anything else I prepare, if it's a soup or some kind of stew, that's actually the side dish. So that's been helpful for me this week in sort of keeping that progress going. Mm-hmm. So Bonnie, tell us a little bit about your travel.
Yeah, so I was out of town for about 5 or 6 days, and it was interesting. So I took a lot of things with me in terms of I had a lot of fruit. I had more fruit than I needed. I overestimated that, which you predicted. But and I had raw vegetables and hummus. So those were always available. And you had made some breakfast bars and some vegan cookies, and so I had those with me.
Whole food plant-based cookies.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no oil and no sugar, no salt, all that stuff. So I had that base with me, and there was a refrigerator in my hotel room, so I knew I wasn't going to starve or anything. It was challenging in that just the location of this conference, there weren't many options to eat around there, which is not what I would have expected. And it wasn't the type of situation where I could just get out and go other places and such. So I was pretty limited in where I could access food. I did do an Uber Eats once from a vegan restaurant, and that worked out okay. And there was a place in the hotel, like a little marketplace, and I got some vegan lentil chili from them 2 nights, which did have caramelized onions in it, so that was probably the one ingredient that wasn't quite on the list, but
Because that was likely to be caramelized in oil.
Yeah, but it was probably a small proportion, and of the available things, that was the best thing. And then I had my other
and
backup
you really
things.
made the best choices you could based
Yeah.
upon the circumstances.
Yeah, and that was helpful to think about that. The conference, sometimes there was a vegan entry at lunch because they provided a box lunch sort of thing. Essentially, there were 3 days like that, and one of them had a really nice salad. One didn't have anything. One day didn't have anything, and one day had something that was actually not appropriate for what we're eating. So that was.
Yeah, so what did you do on those days when the lunch wasn't appropriate?
Well, that's where I went back to my vegetables and hummus and fruit, and so I had those available, and I took a little insulated lunch bag with me that I had in my backpack, so I could just have that if I needed it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so with the hummus, though, you're getting your beans and then the vegetables, and then the fruit. So really, you were able to get a pretty balanced.
I got a decent amount,
Yeah.
and I didn't walk around hungry or anything. And those breakfast bars were great because they were ready to go. They were, they tasted good and they were fairly filling. And also having the little cookie. Just knowing I had that at the end of the day made it easier to resist when they put out cookies during, one of the breaks and such. The other thing that helped me was remembering what Penn Jillette said in his book, which was recognizing, I've had that before. Like there would be salad with salmon on it, and I love salmon. But I've had that before, and they had some really good-looking cookies, and that's like my favorite dessert. But I've had that before, and that really just helped me get over that little urge of like, oh, that looks good.
So like you could almost imagine in the moment what it tastes like and what it would feel like in your mouth. It's like you've almost experienced actually eating it.
Yeah, sort of vicariously that way.
That's really cool.
So that helped me a lot, and so I think just having stuff with me, so I knew I had something, and making do with what was available, it worked out.
Very cool. And we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Awesome. So this week's cooking, we've just sort of been trying some different things as usual. By now, our pantry is actually pretty well stocked, which is nice. So when I come across a recipe, I can pretty much find most of what I'm looking for, if not all of what I'm looking for, which is super good. And we're starting to identify about 5 recipes that are really pretty close to what we like, and that we'll start maybe doing a rotation of including one of those a week or so as time goes on.
Yeah, we've weeded some out, probably don't want this again, but this one was really good. And I'm liking that kind of. I've never been very venturous with food, but I've been liking the trying new things, and so it's exciting to come home and see what you've cooked.
What is this smell wafting through the air? Yeah. So, and there's still many recipes that we want to try, and now we've got some that are really pretty good, and we've got some similar ones. So I want to start looking at, what are the differences, and are those differences add-ons or subtract froms? So we'll be doing more of that as time goes on too. So, how did the week go? So for me, it's actually a really good week. I lost 0.9% of my body weight this week, which makes me almost at a 10% loss overall. And I lost 0.4 BMI, which puts me at a minus 5.2 overall. So it was a good week for me.
Good.
Yeah, how was it for you?
It was in the right direction. This is counting from a little more than a week because it was the conference. I didn't weigh myself during the conference. So for the week, approximate week, it was 0.4% down on my weight and 1.1 down on my BMI.
Wow.
And then overall, I'm at 9.7% down on my weight and 4.8 down on my BMI.
Wow.
So, yeah, I just don't feel like it's been that hard, you know.
That's the way it should be, right?
So,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of amazed at
Yeah.
how it's changing.
Yeah, and I haven't felt deprived at all.
Yeah.
You know, been eating a fair amount of food, and,
Yeah.
And it's been going well.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, that's where we are. Hopefully, this is an interesting journey for you to follow. Maybe you're starting one of your own just like this, or you're on your own journey like this, or you just find it interesting. Please give us that thumbs up and subscribe down below. We'd really appreciate that. And of course, always share your comments. We enjoy getting those.
Yeah.
And in closing, let's just remember that there is a lot of distress out there in the world, and let's be kind to one another. And as always, may you find joy in today and all of your tomorrows. Take care. Bye-bye.